Welcome to PBS 39 Scholastic Scrimmage. Scholastic Scrimmage is brought to you by the members of PBS 39 and by
Scholastic Scrimmage is sponsored by St. Luke's University Health Network, the region's leading provider of medical education. For more than 100 years, St. Luke's has been dedicated to educating physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals. To learn more, call St. Luke's InfoLink, toll free at 866 St. Luke's, or visit sluhn.org.
Support for PBS 39's educational programming is provided by the Deluxe Corporation Foundation, proud to support quality programming on PBS 39.
And now your host, Dr. Karen Walton, Provost DeSales University.
Welcome to Scholastic Scrimmage. This is the 7th contest of the 2015-2016 academic year. It's also the 42nd year that PBS 39 has brought you this academic competition. I'm Karen Walton, and I'm delighted to be your host. From now until May, the best and brightest students from 31 schools will compete for the honor of being the Scholastic Scrimmage champions. At the end of the season, the 2 final teams will win scholarships for their schools from the Air Products Foundation. Let's meet the team from Salisbury High School.
Hi, I'm Ben Wiener. I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Jacob Glenister. I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Boulay. I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Kevin Esslinger, and I'm a senior.
Salisbury's coaches are Paul Koba and Joe Passetti. And now the team from Allentown Central Catholic High School.
Hi, I'm Mark Gerger, and I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Johnson, and I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Molly Langan, and I'm a junior.
Hi, I'm Nick Carolyn, and I'm a senior.
Allentown Central Catholic's coaches are Edward Tabor and Gary Bushta. The judges for today's contest are Sally Campbell, retired English teacher, and Dr. Gary DeLeo, professor of physics at Lehigh University. Remember that the questions on Scholastic Scrimmage demand rapid recall of factual information and are not necessarily indicative of academic training. We understand the rules, so let's begin the contest with a toss-up in world literature. Homer's Iliad inspired the name of a foaming cleanser that is stronger than dirt. From what character of great stature and Salisbury?
Ajax.
You are correct, and your bonus. Nabisco named a brand of its shortbread cookies after this heroine because shortbread biscuits were considered a product of Scottish heritage, and the character was symbolic of Scotland. Name this title character from Blank Blank, a romance of Exmoor by R.D. Blackmore. Lorna Doone. This is a name your cookies question. Next toss-up in geometry. What is the sum of the measures of the 4 angles of a parallelogram? Central Catholic?
360 degrees.
Yes, and your bonus. What is the measure of the angle that is inscribed in a semicircle? Gretchen?
90 degrees.
Yes. Toss up in world history. At which February 1945 conference did the Big Three agree to demand Germany's unconditional surrender? Central Catholic?
Yalta.
And your bonus. At which conference in July and August 1945 did the Big Three affirm the transfer of some German territories to Poland? Gretchen?
Nuremberg.
It was Potsdam. Toss up in grammar. An AP story to the Morning Call described the collapse of an overpass near Montreal. On the monitor is a sentence in need of grammatical correction. Make the correction, and I'll read it. One witness told TVA he noticed that the road sunk an inch or two when he traveled near the over. Salisbury?
Sunk should be sank.
I will continue for Central Catholic. He noticed that the road sunk an inch. Central Catholic?
It should be had sunk.
Had sunk is correct, and your bonus is this. Explain the reason for the change in the verb. Gretchen?
You have to change it to the past participle.
The judges would like you to explain that a little more thoroughly.
You have to add the helping verb for the past participle. Past perfect.
No, Mrs. Campbell will not take that. You have to have the past perfect tense to express the earlier of the two past actions. Good try. Close. Let's go to a toss-up in U.S. history. The concept of government by the rich, the well-born, and the capable can be expressed by the word that means government. Central Catholic?
Plutocracy.
We'll go on for Salisbury. Can be expressed by the word that means government by a few. What's that word? Salisbury?
Is it oligarchy?
Oligarchy is correct. And your bonus? What word, beginning with the letter U in the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, means cannot be given up or taken away? Carolyn?
Unalienable.
Yes, many people call that inalienable. It's really unalienable. Good for you. Toss up in mathematics. What is the largest integer that can be expressed as a 3-bit binary number? It is Salisbury.
7.
7 is correct. And your bonus. A marketing company employs 10 computer graphic designers. The company decides to expand a new site and needs to transfer 3 of the designers to the office. How many different groups of 3 designers can be chosen to transfer into that new office? Carolyn?
720.
It is 120. It is combinations. Perhaps you did permutations. Good try, though. Toss up in American literature. This writer of To a Waterfall, Fowl, and The Yellow Violet, and Thanatopsis has been called the father of American poetry. Name him. Central Catholic?
Thoreau.
Salisbury? William Cullen Bryant. You had the right time period. Good for you. Toss up in U.S. geography. What major U.S. river forms the boundary between Iowa and Illinois? Salisbury?
The Mississippi.
Correct. And your bonus for 5 points each. Which river forms the boundary between Arizona and California? Carolyn?
Colorado.
Correct. Next, between Oklahoma and Texas. Carolyn?
The Red River.
Correct. Toss up in chemistry. When a carbon atom uses sp3 hybrid orbitals, what is the geometric shape around that carbon atom? Central Catholic?
A sphere.
Salisbury?
Tetrahedron.
You are correct. And your bonus. How many degrees are in the bond angles for this carbon atom? Carolyn?
120 degrees.
It's really 109.5, but we'd accept anything between 108 and 112, so you're out of that range, but close but out of the range. Toss up in geometry. State whether or not the equation on the monitor represents a graph that is symmetric with respect to each of the following: x-axis, y-axis, or Central Catholic.
Symmetrical with respect to the origin.
You are correct. I didn't even get to that choice. And your bonus is this. Given that f of x is an odd function, and f of negative 3 is equal to 5, what is f of 3? Gretchen?
Negative 5.
Correct. Toss up in American literature. Walt Whitman's poetry has no regular metrical scheme and no consistent line length. What do we call this type of poetry? Central Catholic?
Blank verse.
Over to Salisbury?
Free verse.
Free verse. Bonus. In Song of Myself, Whitman writes, quote, "I am enamored of growing outdoors, of men that live among cattle or taste of the ocean or woods, of the builders and steerers of ships and the wielders of axes and mauls, and the drivers of horses. I can eat and sleep with them, week in and week out," end of quote. Typical of this style is this list of objects and images. What is the name of this type of verse? Carolyn?
Imagery.
It is called catalog verse, listing them serially like that. Toss up in U.S. history. What is the only crime defined in the U.S. Constitution? Central Catholic?
Treason.
Is the correct answer. And your bonus? I'll give the description, and for 5 points each, you identify the constitutional amendment. First, direct election of senators.
No, 12 is the president.
Gretchen?
12.
17th. Next, presidential limit of 2 terms.
That's
22.
Gretchen?
22.
Yes. Toss up in biology. Which part of the brain controls coordination and voluntary movement? Central Catholic?
Cerebellum.
Bonus. What do we call the tree-like protoplasmic protrusions of the neuron whose function is to convey impulses or stimuli to the nerve cell? Gretchen?
Dendrites.
Yes. Tongue twister was that one. Let's go to a toss-up in music. How many sharps or flats are in the key signature of C major? Central Catholic?
No sharps, no flats.
0. Bonus. How many sharps are in the key of G major? Gretchen?
1.
F sharp is correct. 1 sharp. Toss up in chemistry. Name the property that is a measure of the ease with which the electron charge density in an atom or molecule can be distorted. Central Catholic?
Electronegativity.
Salisbury?
Radioactivity.
It is polarizability. Toss up in U.S. geography. What 2 states have a border line known as the Mason-Dixon line? Salisbury?
Pennsylvania and Maryland.
Yes, and your bonus. For 5 points each, identify the U.S. state with the following flags. First, the flag with the state motto, Oro y Plata. Carolyn?
California.
It is Montana. And next, the flag with the state motto of L'Étoile du Nord.
Louisiana.
Minnesota. That was a good guess because of the French. It is halftime, and the halftime score is Salisbury 70, Central Catholic 85. Close contest. In the first round, we asked the students to tell us something about a role model or a hero whom they might have. So let's begin with Salisbury. Ben?
My grandparents are my role models.
Thank you. Jacob?
My role model is Miss Quigg, my 8th grade English teacher.
Carolyn?
My role model is my voice teacher, Rebecca Graver.
My role models are all the people with cameras.
Okay, let's go over it. That's an unusual one. Central Catholic, Mark.
My role model would have to be my grandfather.
Gretchen?
My role model is my band director, Aaron Hetrick.
Molly?
My role model is also our band director, Aaron Hetrick. He's really cool.
What instruments do you play, Molly?
I'm in the pit, so I play the xylophone, marimba, bells, whatever kind of mallet percussion, and then I do chorus too, so he's there for that as well.
You do the triangle as well?
No.
Or don't you do a triangle?
No, that's what, we have other people do the triangle.
Okay, and Gretchen, what do you do?
I play the cymbals.
All right, thank you. And Nick?
My role model is my pastor, Monsignor Murphy.
Thank you. Next toss-up is in British literature. Thomas Hardy uses both real and fictitious place names in his novels. The penultimate scene in Tess of the Dubervilles, where Tess is captured, occurs at what famous ancient monument? Central Catholic?
Stonehenge.
Yes. Bonus. There are numerous heaths in Hardy's native Dorsetshire, which he called Wessex in his novels. Hardy refers to these heaths collectively, most notably in Return of the Native. What name does he give in that novel to these stretches of wild, uncultivated hills?
The Moors, I don't know. What? The Moors?
It's Edgin Heath. That was a good guess, though. Edgin Heath. Toss-up in world history. She was the daughter of James V of Scotland and the mother of James I of England. Forced to flee Scotland in 15. Central Catholic.
Mary, Queen of Scots.
And your bonus, for 5 points each, match the following English monarchs with their respective houses. First is Charles I. Gretchen?
Plantagenet.
It is House of Stuart. Next is Henry VIII. Gretchen?
Tudor.
You are correct for 5 points. Next toss-up is in Pennsylvania history with a video.
In the 1600s, the Lenni Lenape Indians called this river Lecha-Weekink, which means where the forks are. The Pennsylvania Germans then shortened it to Lecha, which the English then mistranslated into its current name. Name this river.
Salisbury.
Lehigh.
Yes. And your bonus, eastern Pennsylvania lies at the confluence of which two rivers? No partial credit given. Carolyn?
Delaware and Lehigh.
That is correct. Toss up in mathematics. What are the first three terms of the infinite series represented by the expression on the monitor? Central Catholic.
3/10, 3/100, and 3/1000.
That is correct. And your bonus. What is the sum of the infinite series shown on the monitor? Sigma I goes from 1 to infinity of 3 over 10 to the 5th power. 10 over 10 to the nth power. 3 over 10 to the nth power.
Okay. Do you have any guesses?
Gretchen?
2.
It is 1/3. Next toss-up is in art. Look at the monitor and give the name and location of the cathedral. Salisbury.
Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France.
And your bonus. Notre Dame is located on the bank of what river? Carolyn?
The Seine.
Correct. Toss-up in British literature. Name the Shakespearean comedy that contains one of the most famous trials in literature. Salisbury?
Is it Much Ado About Nothing?
Central Catholic? Gretchen?
All's Well That Ends Well.
The Merchant of Venice. The trial, Shylock's trial. Next toss-up is in U.S. geography. Which U.S. National Memorial celebrated its 50th anniversary on July 3rd, 1991? Mount Rushmore. U.S. history. In what colony was Virginia Dare born? Salisbury.
The Rhode Island colony?
Central Catholic? Yes?
North Carolina.
It is Roanoke. Molly. Toss-up in algebra. Solve the inequality on the monitor. Salisbury?
X is greater than or equal to 1.
Central Catholic? Gretchen?
X is less than or equal to 5, or X is less than or equal to 1?
X is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 5. Both of you were on the right trail. Toss up in chemistry. Multiple choice. In nuclear chemistry, what fundamental particle is also called a beta particle? Is it A, helium nucleus? Salisbury?
The electron.
Yes. Did not need the other choices. Your bonus for 5 points each. In a beta emission nuclear reaction, how does the atomic number of the product compare to that of the reactant?
It is 1 greater.
Is greater than. And next, what term is used to describe a nuclear reaction in which 2 atomic or subatomic particles combine to form only one?
Nuclear fusion.
Will you spell that word?
F-U-S-I-O-N.
Correct. Fusion. Fission would be incorrect. You got it right, so you did get both parts of those. And your next toss-up is in algebra. If log to the base 2 of the quantity x plus 2 is equal to 3, what is the value of x? Central Catholic?
6.
Yes. Bonus. If f of x is equal to 5 plus 2x, find the inverse function of f. Gretchen?
X minus 5 over 2.
Correct. Toss up in world history. Name the Irish activist and civil rights leader who, in 1969, became the youngest woman ever elected to the British Parliament, and who, in 2003, was turned back from entering the U.S. at O'Hare Airport in Chicago under anti-terrorist legislation. Bernadette Devlin. Biology. What spiny-skinned phylum of animals are more closely related to vertebrates than any? Salisbury?
Echinoderms.
Next bonus is this. What determines this relationship?
Ancestry.
It is development of the embryo. Next toss-up is in mathematics. A pair of dice is tossed once. What is the probability that the sum of the numbers showing is 11? Central Catholic?
1/18.
That is correct. And your bonus. One card is drawn from an ordinary deck. What is the probability that the card is a 7 or a diamond? Gretchen?
8/52.
It is 16/52. There are 13 diamonds, 4 sevens, and there's one overlap, so it's 16/52. The next toss-up is in language arts. Name this prophetess, given the power of prophecy by Apollo. Central Catholic?
Cassandra.
Bonus. According to Greek mythology, Cassandra was the daughter of this Trojan king and was brought from Troy by Agamemnon as war booty.
Priam.
Name her father, the Trojan king.
Priam.
Gretchen?
Priam.
Yes. Toss up in biology. What are the largest and smallest of the 7 classification groups developed by Linnaeus? Central Catholic, what's the largest?
Kingdom.
And what is the smallest?
Species.
Correct. And your bonus. In the 7-level system developed by Linnaeus, what are the 2 smaller categories directly after class? You may answer. This is for 5 points each.
Order and phylum.
It is order and family, and so you get 5 points on that. The contest is over. The final score is Salisbury 125 and Central Catholic 185. Two excellent teams. Our thanks to Salisbury High School for participating. Congratulations to Central Catholic. We'll see you in round 2 later in the season. Thank you for watching and supporting these excellent students. Please join us next week for another contest on Scholastic Scrimmage.
Scholastic Scrimmage is brought to you by the members of PBS 39 and by
Support for PBS 39's educational programming is provided by the Deluxe Corporation Foundation, proud to support quality programming on PBS 39.